So it says.
Yeah, it's recording.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tomorrow's
Okay.
difficult. It's Thursday morning.
Right, so thank you very much for coming and thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Please feel free to ask any questions. If you want to jump in and ask a question partway through, I'm happy with that, or you can just leave your questions to the end. Sometimes I forget questions if I leave them too long. So today I'd like to talk about teaching and learning, and also its relationship with the curriculum, and a short-term plan, a medium-term plan, and then a long-term plan for making sure that we are ahead of our game here at Rishworth. So to put things into perspective, or where my ideas, vision is coming from, all about creativity and collaboration. So there's a lot of talk at the moment about changes in curriculum, and not just here at Rishworth but worldwide. Are we actually meeting the needs of our pupils? And for me it comes down to creativity and collaboration, bringing those into the curriculum, not just focusing specifically on certain subjects. It's about connecting things together, ideas and experiences that people have, and this is why from lots of reading that I've done, as a species we actually succeed, because we collaborate, because we work together, because we actually have an imagination to drive and take things forward. So that's where I'm coming from. Okay. So, teaching and learning at Rishworth already has excellent for its inspection report. So you might be saying, well, where are we going to go from here then? Well, we can't stand still. We need to keep moving. So the things that I'd like to suggest are based on research, based on experience, based on talking to others. And it's based on a triangulation, a three-point approach, and I'll keep coming back to that. So, if we have a think back about education, it hasn't changed very much for quite some time. And the education system is based on something where we need people to conform, follow routines. And actually, if you look as the time goes across, what we actually need now is, we've introduced more STEM, or people are even calling it STEAM now, so you're engineering. We need deep expertise. We actually need a lot deeper knowledge. There's a lot more knowledge out there that we can actually access. It's not based on just going to the teacher. It's actually the internet is allowing you to access that information, but it's making sure that you've got the right information. But here, what they're saying here in this bit of research is actually you need adaptability, and you need actually to be able to go across disciplines. So you need to have an understanding of how things all link together. So what I'd like to suggest is that we are making sure we're moving in this direction, and we can do that by looking at teaching and learning, and we can do it by, in long term, looking at our curriculum. So, what are the plans? So, plans are, in the short term, to adapt teaching and learning strategies, and I'll say how. In the medium term, to build on that, to use intervention strategies to motivate the learners. And when I say learners, I'm talking about my triangle here again, and my triangle is not just the pupils, it's the teachers and it's the parents as well. So that's the collaboration that we've got to have coming together. And I'll say more about that. In the long term, it's bringing all of this to make sure that it's actually embedded in our curriculum, and to look at the curriculum from 3 to 18 as a whole. And I'll delve into each of these bits in a minute. I just wanted to give you the overview first of all. In my teaching, I quite often refer to YouTube clips and video clips. One, you'll be able to see why when I tell you the next bit, but one of the reasons is these people have actually practiced what they're saying before they have it recorded. So, to join all of these things together, I've got a really, really short clip just to explain one thing. Okay? So hopefully it's going to be loud enough. Don't know if you've seen the movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know, you'll probably be about as good as I was. That's kind of the way it works, and I was below average. So you'll probably ultimately rank somewhere around there, so really you'll excel at a lot of things, just not this. I don't want you out here shooting this ball around all day and night. All right?
All right.
Okay? All right, go ahead. Hey. Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. Alright? You got a dream, you gotta protect it. People can't do something themselves, they wanna tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period. Let's go.
Okay, so that's what I want the pupils to be able to do, but not just the pupils, the teachers and also the parents to understand. I want them to be able to go and get whatever they want to get, and I think he can say it quite clearly, and it's scripted very well in that very short piece. So, to bring us back to reality, how can we achieve that? That's in the movie. How can we actually achieve that here at Rishworth? Well, the research says if you look at what makes great teaching, there are 6 things that it keeps coming back to, okay? And it has to lead to improved student progress and attainment. So as part of my MPQH, my small project has to be able to show that in a very short amount of time, okay? The 2 main things that the research says is deep subject knowledge, okay? Staff here at Rishworth absolutely have that deep subject knowledge. That's where I think we are really lucky. But where I want to extend that is getting them to think about how the pupils think about the subject. And I'll tell you how I'll get to that. I'd like them to do that a little bit more. The quality of instruction. Again, with our excellent, we have to have fantastic quality of instruction. But where I'd like the curriculum to help support teachers with that is by enabling more interleaving of subjects and ideas and matters and coming backwards and forwards to different things. These 2 come out with the strongest or the most evidence, okay? So the next 2 that they say are very important are classroom climate, so that pupil-teacher relationship. So again, what I propose will help with this as well. The classroom management, so the planning and the control. I want to link the curriculum to the planning. And then the smallest effect are these 2, teacher beliefs about their theories in terms of learning. Everybody has their own beliefs because everybody has been part of an education system. And so obviously that's going to impact on what you do. And then the professional behaviours. So I want to try and link professional development that the teachers as learners should be part of this as well. So I'm trying to focus on each of these different things. Okay. So it all comes back to the Rishworth School aims, which I can link all of the things back to. So if you take just a section of the school aims, it already says the word learning, and that we want a lifelong love of learning, and this curiosity and engagement. And how we learn is these 2 things here, and I'll show you that one in a second. We do the engagement really quite well with our space programmes, our Formula 1 programmes, our intellectual curiosity programmes. But again, that's not embedded within the curriculum. These are extra projects that we do. So I want to draw and bring all these things together. So the triangulation that I've been talking about is also in our aims. It already says work closely with parents. It already says employ highly skilled and motivated staff. And it already says making sure that our pupils and that they know their importance in their role of the learning process. So that's the 3 bits that I want to bring together, and I want to do it by making sure everybody knows actually how we learn. So that's what I want to do. So, how we learn. So we've got a lot more information about this now because neuroscience is ever growing, lots of information out there, and I'm basing everything I do on the 3 steps. So, first of all, need to engage. So I'm trying to engage you with my presentation with a short clip, with a hook to try and draw you in, to engage you with what I am trying to drive forward at Rishworth. I want to then build things for you because I want to try and show you the research and the evidence that is out there to try and build your understanding of the teaching and learning and the curriculum. And then I'd like to consolidate things. That's a little bit more tricky, but as my project goes on, to show you how it's going forward. So this is what I would like the teachers, the pupils and the parents to be able to understand. And if you look at another piece of research, this has been carried out by the Education Endowment Foundation, and it's not just one piece of evidence, it's actually quite a lot of evidence. You can see that actually talking about how we learn is actually giving an extra 8 months on top of any year in your education. We talk a lot about this at school, a lot, about giving pupils feedback, making sure they know where they're at, making sure they know where they want to go, but actually it's equal to what I would like to try and achieve here with teaching teachers and pupils how they actually learn. So, just to remind you, just one more time, triangulation of all these 3 things. Quite often in a lot of process, you've got to draw things together, and I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. And I did start this process in an inset, and I've tried to say it to staff every single time I speak to them that I'm trying to focus on each of these 3 things. So I'm going to pick the teachers first. So, what am I doing with those teachers? Or what am I trying to do with those teachers? So, is there a problem? Well, we've got this excellent teaching, so as I've said, how do we keep on improving? Well, I think here at school we've got pockets of excellence, absolutely. And then there are some that are good, and so what I also found from the research is teachers tend to improve in their first 3 to 5 years, and then they tend to plateau. Well, we don't want that happening. We want to make sure that this excellent teaching continues and that people don't feel like I'm peering through the door to do a lesson observation and they feel like I'm encroaching on their space, that actually it's a collaboration where teachers, we do have an open door policy, but let's get that collaboration extending further and allowing the teachers to maintain this excellent teaching. Okay, so teachers as learners. So you'll notice I keep talking about the learning process. So I've tried to put in my engage, my build and my consolidate for you to show you. So at insets, I'm trying to introduce a lot about research and I've also already explained the engage, the build, the consolidate. But I have to keep coming back to that to remind them because it's very, very easy to go back to that worksheet and to go back to that method because it's worked before. We have twilight sessions after school. I've got one tonight. And trying to look at different activities that teachers can do and sharing ideas, but also new research that's out there as well. We've had a conference here about teaching and learning, and so we've had one, and I'd like to continue that going. Governors were involved, and so were independent schools and state schools in the area. So I want to keep building on that so we can share ideas and hopefully have things going across schools as well. So day-to-day different activities already mentioned. So that's how I'm trying to engage the teachers. How am I going to build things then once I've got them engaged? We've now got some PGCE students here. So it's getting those teachers to reflect on what they're doing more and giving back to those students and remind themselves of what it was like right back when they were first training. So we're building up this. Looking at the policies, so I'm trying to ask staff to actually look at those pieces of paper to make sure that they are fit for purpose, so that they feel like that they are engage with that process, if you like. And what I would really like to achieve, big picture, is then carrying out research themselves. So why does that work? Why does that method that you are doing, we're all unique as teachers, one method isn't going to work for everybody. It's to do with you as a person. So can you show why it's working and the impact it's having? And then bring these ideas together so that they can showcase what they've done. Okay, so that's the teachers as learners, and we are on with that. So the focus I have for my NPQH is the pupils. It has to be about improving their outcomes. So, it actually said in our inspection report that we do actually have independent learners. And yeah, we do, because they're engaged with those projects that I've already mentioned. But there's definitely still quite a lot of this that is going on. And so that's why we've got to bring it into the whole curriculum and not just have added on things. So this is where it all stems from. So, whole school approach. 2015-2016 restructured the exams because pupils were turning up and they hadn't revised, they hadn't prepared, which is, it's great that they feel confident that they can just walk into an exam. These are internal exams, by the way, not the external ones. However, I want this learning to be starting, not just in year 7, but down at Heathfield. This learning should be going on all of the time. It shouldn't be cram it in right at the end. It should be continually going on. So, 2016-2017, we had a study skills assembly and we produced some revision booklets, and I was using materials in my own lessons to try and making sure that these pupils are engaging in that. Okay, but this was just within science, and so I was trying to branch out, and I've got examples of these that you can look at to see what I was talking about. 2017-2018, we took this further and produced 2 booklets. One right at the beginning of the year, because from feedback, parents wanted to know what their son and daughter was doing in each subject right from the very beginning. So we have that information. And then we produced more material in revision booklet 2. As we got buy-in from the heads of the department, they started developing the material for these. And we trialled a workshop where the parents came in. So the parents were learning alongside their sons and their daughters. So this is what I want to now move with this year and measure the impact of what's happening with this. So, we've already produced the independent study guide for years 7 to 10, and that has actually gone out. And I've got an example here, if you want to have a little flick through so that you can see what we're talking about. I didn't want to print off loads of copies. These go out electronically to parents, and then each student gets one of these. So the idea is that they are engaging with some independent learning. They take a quiz, they see where they're at, and they're following things throughout the year. The revision booklets are in development. So we've got the ones from last year, and we're just taking on board advice and making sure they're correct and what we want. And then the revision workshops for parents and pupils are going in the calendar for next year. We've already run the study skills workshop for the year 12, and I've got feedback from that to show you. But it's this bit that I need to focus on, the impact versus the cost of what it is to actually embed this in. So we now have testing that goes on at the beginning of the year, and we use a package called GL Assessment, and we're using these tests, these Cat4 tests, to give us baseline data. So these are information for each subject and about where we think those students should be. So they take these tests in year 7, and that covers year 7, 8 and 9, and then they retake the test in year 10, and they retake the test in year 12, okay? But in addition to this, we're adding on this test, and this is a pupil attitudes to self and school. So how do they think about themselves as learners? So I'd like to use this information, and we take this test at the beginning of the year, so it's just been done, And it's taken again at the end of the year, after these booklets have gone out, after they've taken their exams. So hopefully I can actually show you the impact that this has had on their perceived learning ability from this, as well as from the progress that we hope they should be making from this data here. Also doing pupil surveys, just asking them about these booklets. So I want to again put these three things together to try and show some impact. Okay, so what's the cost? There's always cost. So, cost is quite heavily on time, and the time is myself and the librarian working together to create these resources. And it's not once it's been done once, we're trying to improve it each time. Also the heads of departments and teaching staff for the materials that go in there. But you would hope that this is all professional development for these people, so therefore that's actually beneficial all round. The other costs are dependent on the number of pupils on the school roll, because the cost of the assessment this year, £7,500, but we pay that every year because we want to monitor, we want to track progress anyway. So this isn't an additional cost, this is something that we actually already do. And it's very, very valuable, especially when coming to analyse our GCSE and A-level results. The independent study guide that you've got there, that costs £35.28 to be precise, for years 7 to 10, because obviously I've got the data from that. So, but it will vary. Okay, the revision booklets, looking back, about £100, but it depends on how much you've got. And then the workshops, again, about £50, and the study skills workshop, about £20. So, relative cost, I think, to the impact that I'm absolutely sure this is going to have is relatively small, because that being discounted, because we do that as a school anyway. I'm using the resources that we've actually got. Okay. So some feedback already from the sixth form study skills day. So 82% enjoyed the day, but all the resources that we used, everyone's going to at least try them. That's good. They received exercise books, and we actually showed them how to start embedding this in. They would prefer it earlier in the term, so that's what we're going to, that's already the level of improvement that we'll do next time. Can't show you the impact on their results yet because they haven't taken any mocks or done anything. But I think from a positivity term, the fact that they actually enjoyed the day and they want to do it, that's a great start. So, that's my short-term plan. And I've got other examples of things that I can show you that we've made from the previous year, so you can see how things have already grown. Medium-term plan. This is focused on engaging them with those subjects and helping them obviously to prepare for tests and exams and things. But to take this further, I've already been in contact with various companies to look at, well, who do we target? If somebody is still not engaged, still not motivated, and this hasn't quite worked, where do we go for everybody? Do we look at something like the Outward Bound Trust, who are prepared to make sure that any learning that is outdoors, if you go away for 3 days, always comes back to themselves as a learner? Okay, so there's a group of students working together with a teacher, plus somebody over either in the Lake District or Scotland or down south, wherever you like, but they're going out doing these different activities, canoeing or sailing or whatever, but they always make sure, this company, that it comes back to what are you learning about yourself. Obviously there's a cost with that, quite a hefty cost with that, and that would be, you know, for everybody in the school. The other option is to look at a more bespoke approach, where if the results highlight that we have a small group of people that aren't, they don't have a very high perceived learning capability for themselves. This one example, Nikki here, from Sport and Beyond, would charge about £36 per pupil to work with them individually. And she does an extra psychometric profile and works with those students to try and improve those. So you've got an expensive whole group, whole year group, or you've got targeted individuals. And this is another example of someone who I met in Germany who would do a similar sort of thing. So I've started to investigate how we could take this further, but there are different options, and that would come down to looking at the cost and impact benefit again. So, one other little clip just to remind you what we're trying to do. So I don't know if you remember, but that's what I want to do. So it doesn't matter if you don't quite get there. The teachers, the pupils and the parents are going to work to get you to that point. He was supposed to win. He was he was supposed to win that race. But it's getting the idea that it is possible, and that these little things, so this is my small project, but it needs to then continue. So to finish off with the long-term plan or idea, if you like, it has already been looked at, a learning skills curriculum, and it's in the most recent Impact Research Journal, where a school has tried a learning skills curriculum from 2010 to 2014. And what they did was they embedded all of these things. So metacognition being there, collaboration, and a whole host of things that what I'd like to bring in. But the reason for the sad face is that it was just an add-on one lesson. So they put it in as a 1 hour a week. And for me, that doesn't quite fit the bill. It's getting there, and I'm starting with these little booklets here. We're trying to sow a seed and get the pupils to think about how they're learning, but it has to flow through the whole curriculum. But that isn't an easy thing to do. That's a very big long-term project. And it's based on, at the minute, our curriculum is based on separate blocks of subjects, individual subjects, where teachers are very passionate, quite rightly, about their subject, about chemistry, about the English, about whatever it is. But what you can actually do, if you carefully look at the curriculum, is you can find where things are parallel. You can then get things to cross over. And this is very, very challenging, but it's to try and see how all of those subjects are linking together to make that learner be able to be adaptable and access whatever the future jobs are going to be, because we don't even know what they are going to be. And we've got to work at this stepwise, because at the minute we are, as most are, here. And so it's trying to see the links and then move ourselves further up here. And this is one way we can do it. We can start looking at linking courses, we can start looking at different learning communities, we can start looking at team teaching. Lots of things done in Japan about where you are doing lesson studies and sharing ideas. Service learning, bridging programs, you name it, there's a whole host of things. And here we've got learning skills, attitudes and outcomes. So what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to start here, really, really small, but I think it needs to grow. So, to summarise, in the short term, introduction of learning how to learn. Hopefully the teachers have got this idea, and the students from a study skills perspective. Medium term, developing each individual learner. So personalised learning is a very buzzword. By looking at larger or different intervention programmes, not just seeing it as team building, but actually focusing on yourself and your skills. And then the long term, a whole school curriculum review where we can embed these teaching methods within and across the whole 3 to 18 curriculum. So that's me. Are there any questions?
Well, I've got two. The first one, it's kind of a question but a bit of an observation as well.
Yeah.
So you had your study skills day with the sixth form.
Yes.
And obviously you said you won't know whether it's worked until you get to the results when they do their levels. But
yeah.
Are you monitoring on the way? So you've had one sort of session.
Yeah.
Are you tracking it up by following and having any more sessions, or even just almost one-to-one conversations with them? So we did this study skills. Which ones have you used? How successful? What else do you need? So that it's not just, well, it happened and then we'll wait till the results, but there's drop-ins.
Yeah, we'd like to, when they do their mocks after January, then actually go and see if they've actually used this material. So before they go away at Christmas, I'll subtly say, can you bring in, have you got anything that you can show me that you've done? And then see, and then after they've done some exams, and then have a look at their results as well. One suggestion they had was they would like a workshop as well. And so instead of asking them at the minute, instead of doing a workshop for their parents and them at the sixth form, we're actually going to embed them into the workshop for the younger pupils and ask them to share their expertise with the younger students. So we're doing it that way round. They said they'd like it earlier in the year. They also said that they would like not one day, they'd like it broken up. So that's really difficult though, because lots of things link together, but it is possible to separate it out, and because I think the whole day was quite intense for them. So yes, does that answer your question?
It does, and it's like modelling each of the activities in lessons. So if the teachers who do the sixth form lessons, if they could use some of those ways to model in their teaching, then that also, it consolidates it, doesn't it? Because they're seeing it as well.
Yeah, we did use Peel, which we asked all of the HODs first, what do you use? Because there's different ways of writing long answer questions. And we were, I hoped I knew the answer, but teachers are all using this one way called Peel, so we were able to present that during the study skills session, so that they, and some of them went, ouch! And depending on which subject you're doing, some hadn't heard it before because they weren't, at that point or haven't done it. So we were trying to link with the heads of department to make sure that we were doing what they were doing. And they were also, every teacher was invited to the sessions if they wanted to come, and they all have access to the material. Yeah.
And then sort of linked to that, but this is sort of lower down, and it's just practice that I'm seeing in quite a few schools, is the idea that at the end of each lesson it's what have we learned today, what do we need to know next, and how will we do it, so that they're given, that the children are able to articulate what they're learning and how they've learned it, and also what they want to know next. And it's that middle bit, so how did I learn it, that kind of gets the pupils to think about their own metacognition.
That again comes with linking the teachers to asking the right questions to the pupils. So all the tutors, they were the ones that handed out these booklets last week. So everybody, all the teaching staff have been part of developing this and have seen all of this. So hopefully that they will then keep referring to that, especially when it comes to tests and the exams at the end of the year. We've also asked them to join us in the workshops. so that we're all trying to say the same things and the same messages, and I'll embed those things hopefully in the insets that are coming this year as well. Is that, yeah.
Wow.
Jo, I was interested in two things. One is the example you did, was it for the medium term, using a sports-based or outward bound programme,
Yeah.
when there's quite a lot of research that also says that the arts, that use it more as an activity-based, physical activity, where a lot of evidence about well-being and arts-based programmes also it develops that interdisciplinary thinking. That's the first one.
Great idea. Thank you very much. Yeah.
But the second one is, you very rightly say, nobody knows what the jobs of tomorrow are being. So we've got teachers who were taught potentially 20 years ago in a system that was very much 20th century, not 21st century, in a system and an exam system that's still in the 20th century. So you're teaching children in a particular way here, which I agree with, that they have to be a different sort of person and not necessarily be in the exam silo, but an exam system that channels them into the silo. How does that match with what you're saying?
Absolutely, and it's getting those two together that's the absolute key. Until if the exams are going to change, then we can change things in a completely different way. But at the minute, they have to still pass those exams. So there has to be a focus on that rigour and doing that. But it doesn't mean that we can't create this well-rounded pupil within that. And it all comes down to making sure the curriculum is doing that. And the curriculum can, if we do cross-links, if we do collaboration, if we do more project work, if we do all of these other things, but it doesn't mean that we stop teaching this is how to answer an exam question, but you've got to get that passion, engagement into the subject first, and once you've got that, then we can build up to those exam techniques. But that's the long term. If the end goal isn't changing and the exams are staying as they are, paper-based in the hall, then we've still got to help the pupils get to that point. But it doesn't mean that we can't add in the creativity and making sure that we've got this broad curriculum that overlaps and allows us to do that. There's that sort of.
Yeah, it just.
Yeah.
I know. Speaking to senior employers in the past, for example, large banks where people are dealing with. Banks who deal with other banks,
Yeah.
and I asked what's for the training, and they said we go for the person, we don't look at their qualification, we go for the
Yeah.
person, and it's a particular skill set in terms of the individual rather than the bit of paper with the exam on. And you do wonder where that's all going.
Yeah, but I hope that by teaching them how to learn, then going to the medium term, they are going to be more self-aware. And that's what it is. Knowing their skill set, knowing what they're about, and helping them to achieve that, well then, that's got to come with the subjects.
Maxine.
Yeah, thinking absolutely. But then one of the things that we're talking about is that assessment of skill set, if you like.
Yeah.
And in the long term, we're looking at the curriculum review.
Yeah.
So how much of that can we use now to consider what our curriculum offer is going to be in the future? Because I think for me, we've got to look at that very seriously, along with the skill set of the pupils, to make sure that we're not trying to fit children into certain boxes. So giving them the skills that we're talking about is absolutely paramount, but it also offering a curriculum diet that matches those skills and the future needs,
Yeah.
I think is also paramount. And I know that's part of your long term,
Yeah.
but actually for me I think we need to be pushing that a little bit further down within our short term and medium term planning as well.
So before you answer, Jo, I would like to come in on that
Yeah.
and say, in your triangle,
Yeah.
for me the thing that was missing
Yeah.
was the governing body.
Yeah.
We are part of the learning community,
Yeah.
and therefore, in order for us to make strategic decisions
Yeah.
about our core business, which is delivering education,
Yeah.
we need to be part of that triangle.
So you need to be in the middle. So I can change that picture. So teachers, parents, pupils, you need to be there so that you're seeing each. So you're seeing it from each of those.
Or even teachers becoming school,
School, yeah.
which includes all of us,
All of us.
and also actually
Oh, yeah.
includes other people other than teachers.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Because a lot
yeah,
of the
you're
skills that
right.
you're talking about,
Yeah,
I suspect you'll find that the pupils are using those skills with the dinner ladies, sitting
Yeah.
down and having a chat, and with the matronic staff,
absolutely.
and including them as part of that, I think is also quite important.
That's a great idea. But I think I've used the triangle because every time I've done an inset or I'm trying to, that's where it's come from. But if I change that to school, then that does,
School community.
School
yeah.
community.
yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for Jo, please?
No, but I've got some ideas from when
Yes.
you're talking.
Thank you. You can